Happy Monday, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this slightly overcast day from Kimberly here. Today's topic for our 10-minute Monday art tips is how to choose the proper size of canvas when you're starting a painting. There is no right answer to this actually, so I just have a few possible suggestions for you that might lead you in the right direction, but when it comes down to it, there's no right, there's no wrong answer. So to start with, it is always a good idea to choose the best quality canvas you can afford. And I've done a previous art tip Monday, if you look back in the archives there, on how to pick a good quality and what to look for when you're purchasing canvases. But we're going to just pretend you know all about that, and we're not going to discuss that today. We're talking specifically about size and shape of canvases. So there are two things let's just start. Big or small? That's going to be the first question we'll address. And it is important to make sure you do not get stuck in small sizes and large sizes. It's really a really good idea to jump between working on, for example, a 9 by 12 inch canvas, like on the easel behind me, and then switching to maybe a 20 by 24 for your next canvas, because it is really important to be able to make the leap between small and large. And if you're consistently working on small size canvases, then when you suddenly go to a larger size, it can feel very intimidating. And my initial mentor, Karen, who I wrote about in my previous blog. So if you'd like to know more about how I started, please go check out my blog post on the website. And I will tell you about the quirky character that Karen was. She was a real strict teacher, and she made me go from an 8 by 10 inch canvas to a 20 by 24, and then back to a 9 by 12. And I bounced from one to the other. And it was such a good lesson in learning to not get intimidated by a bigger size. You don't want to get stuck in one or the other. And I've also known other artists who have gone into big. And then when they consistently do big, then they have trouble making the switch back to a small, and they feel cramped and it's too awkward and not enough space. So it's really, really important to be able to go between the two. So that is my number one recommendation. Don't get stuck in small. Don't get stuck in large. And once you go through that process, you can, of course, have your own personal preference. And I personally love working on the big canvases. 36 by 48 is one of my favorite sizes. And they take a while to get that canvas covered and completed. But it is fun, it's freeing, it's exciting. And that's where my heart really lies. And if I finish that 48-inch canvas, I go back to the 9 by 12. I still do that. It is still a good exercise to have. And the other thing you want to keep in mind is whether or not you're going to use a rectangular canvas size shape or a square. Now, a lot of my students have come to classes and said, oh, they had a great sale on square canvases at the art store, so I bought a whole bunch. And that is really good. There's nothing wrong with the square canvas, but you must keep in mind that it is a completely different composition if you're working on a square canvas. The theory with a good composition is you want to always have one part of the canvas that is more dominant. So you do not want your canvas cut 50-50, 50% sky, 50% earth, or 50% mountain, 50% foreground, nothing. You want to avoid the center at all costs. And with a square canvas, your center is harder to avoid because the square is like totally equilateral on all four sides. So you really have to know your composition before you attempt a square canvas. It's a lot easier to do that to avoid the center on a rectangle. So just keep that in mind. I went to an art show last fall with of Michael Hepner's paintings. He's been a professional artist for many years, and he nailed the square canvas. He did a brilliant job. His compositions were fabulous. So it can be done. Just really do it with caution and make sure you get your good sketch on, your composition is well laid out, and go for it. Squares are not wrong, just need some forethought. And then you want to think about your subject matter and whether or not you want to put it on a small or a large canvas. For me, it is just a personal preference. On my big canvases, I love to do a big, huge, giant mountain scene on a big canvas. It just makes sense because they're so majestic, so in your face. It just suits my purposes, but there's no right or wrong to that. You can put anything you want on a large canvas. And what came to mind earlier today as I was preparing for today's tips is that a lot of times I'll do a floral or flowers or poppies or whatever on a smaller size canvas. And I was thinking about why I do that. And again, there's no real reason, no right or wrong, because then I got thinking about Georgia O'Keeffe, who did nothing but florals. She was the queen of the floral, and she did gigantic paintings of flowers. And a lot of times they would be one huge bloom, and it would cover the entire canvas. And there's a great movie called Georgia, and I believe it stars Joan Allen, and I highly recommend it. Amazing art quotes, and the paintings are extraordinary, so do check it out. It gives you a deeper understanding of Georgia's paintings if you haven't seen them in real life. So do check out that movie if you get the opportunity. She did florals on giant canvases, and they were extraordinary. So no right, no wrong to which size you pick. And as I posted my photo yesterday announcing what my topic for today would be, I put a photo of a stack of canvases that I have here in my studio. This was a couple years ago. And you may notice that there are several canvases that were started and not finished. And that, again, is my process. Not right, not wrong. But I wanted to address that today because some students feel that it is important to start on a canvas and paint it all the way through until it's done and signed before they start on the next canvas. And that is a great process for many people, but it is not the only process. That is not how I work. I like to have several things on the go at once. Several canvases are underway in my studio at all times. And I love it that way. I would get bored if I had to work on one canvas from start to finish. Sometimes I'm in a mountain frame of mind. Sometimes I want to paint trees. Sometimes I'll get tripped up on a certain spot and I'll need to do something totally different in order to solve the issues with that particular painting. I need to get inspired. I need to be excited. So I move on to something else and then I will go back to it. And my process happens to be where I like starting canvases. I go through phases where I start canvases and then I get to the middle bit and I kind of lose interest. And then all of a sudden one day I will go in and I will finish a whole bunch of canvases, all like in a matter of weeks. I will finish 3 or 4 paintings. So don't be afraid to keep starting canvases when you are choosing what you're going to work on that particular day. Again, there are no rules to say what is right and what is wrong for you. We are all different. And the important thing is that you are inspired and you are excited about what you're going to do that day. And I want to also mention to you that in a previous 10-minute Monday, I also discussed how to pick your subject matter. And when you're working from photographs, what the credentials are in picking a good photo and how to pick your subject matter and copyright whatnot. So go back again in the archives and look at what photos are good, and to be cautious about picking things up off the internet. That's an awesome resource for people. No right, no wrong, but there are a few logistics that you need to consider when you're doing that. And of course, the most exciting thing to choose subject matter is to choose a place that you are emotionally attached to, subject matter that you're attached to. Some of my students like to do apples, some like to do florals. It doesn't necessarily have to have an emotional attachment, but colors can also have an emotion. Red, bright colors, those are all important things to consider. So that's a bit of a sideline from picking your size of canvas, but they're all kind of tied in. And I think that is all I needed to talk to you about, but I just want you to remember to take risks. Don't get stuck in one way. Have fun. This is supposed to be an enjoyable process, so I really want you to just get into it and do what really brings you happiness and really inspires you. Thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this 10-minute art tips, and please do send me any comments or any other suggestions if you have any other things you would like me to discuss. My one student, Bernice, asked me to address this in today's 10 minutes, and it was a great topic. And I'm looking forward to answering more of your questions. So please keep them coming. Thanks for being here, and I will see you again next Monday. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.